That was the first round of tear gas a few moments ago. Then we moved out of that area. You know, you got that feeling in your throat and a little bit in your eyes. You move away. And then since then, my photographer says, now that noise, I don't know if you heard it very clearly, but it was pretty loud here. And we definitely seen a lot more law enforcement moving their way through this area.
Instead, they had been selling goods like this tortilla stand. I've seen mangoes, coconuts, and even whole iguanas. Now, I met with one El Salvadorian mother who actually cleans houses hours on end every single day to earn just $20 a week.
¿Qué estás cocinando?
Ahorita lo que estamos haciendo.
Young Mercedes lives here. She doesn't have any running water, no AC in this 100-degree weather, but she says she doesn't have any complaints, that she just looks forward to the festival every year.
I moved away because the protesters had targeted the media area, broke down the barricades that were kind of keeping us away from the rallies, keeping us socially distanced from the ralliers. And once that barricade was broken down, you know, water was thrown, bottles were thrown, items were thrown at us. And that's when we kind of moved out of the area. We grabbed what we could, and protesters kind of slammed down the rest of the equipment. There were tripods, cameras, lights, etc., everything that we usually need to do reports like this and tell you what's happening.
Our House Democratic leader is concerned about losing any members in the COVID-19 revised bill this time around.
We're not worried about that. Mr. Chair, Mr. What? Demand council.
I think we only lost 2 on the first time.
Some of the videotaped perpetrators have been identified as black, and the observers, when they look at these videos, they see this conflict between the black and Asian race. What message do you have to bring to the minority communities about these concerns?
This issue is white, so
Any differences this week than last week? Are you satisfied with how it's going?
Well, there's slightly different focus with the White House. I focused on those.
What we do understand is that House impeachment managers had invited the former president to testify himself for this trial, although that was declined by his attorneys. Now, if witnesses were to be invited and if those invitations were to be accepted, this trial would go on much longer than we expected. I've been talking to some House Democrats here on Capitol Hill who tell me they think the duration of this trial will be about a week. Now, it's interesting, this district has been Republican control for 18 years, right? How did you think that this could happen? Why did you think that you could make it happen?
Well, and if you cannot keep a safe distance from somebody, you should wear a mask.
So when we talk about not keeping a safe distance, when we take a look at these campaign rallies, and many of them don't wear masks and many of them are in very close proximity, do you think there should be a mask mandate? Good morning, Melvin. Well, Brady and lawmakers, of course, are looking at 2 main bills, one for universal background checks and the other for red flag laws. Now, I talked to the Brady leader in Long Beach who has been fighting for this fight for over a decade. We heard from President Trump around noon. We heard from him saying we need to fight back. He said that the election had been stolen, again, repeating those false allegations of the election fraud. And then just about an hour later, when I made my way to the Capitol, is when all the chaos started. Errol, this is not wartime, but it certainly feels like it with the way the streets are today. It is remarkable because we don't see any protesters, ralliers. We don't even hear them from where I am right now, which is pretty near the White House.
I actually arrived to Houston last Thursday for a family event, and then overnight Sunday into Mondays when the power and the water shut off. That means no cooking, no cleaning, no heating, no bathroom use. And actually, as I moved through the house, I realized that many of the pipes had burst.
She says that because Americans are changing their view on, let's say, background checks like we've seen in Quinnipiac, polls, over 90% of people are, of course, supporting background checks. She sees that if these opinions keep changing, that maybe something will change in Congress.
The very first veto by tweet, do we call that a tweeto? I'm not sure. Walk us through, if he does in fact veto, what happens next?
Okay, so this measure is going to go back to the House. That was a good one, Alex. But this measure is going to go back to the House where months of investigations have led to this point. But we do understand what to expect in just a few hours is 4 hours of debate between the House managers and the defense team lawyers. And ultimately, at the end of that debate, if the senators decide to reject the idea of witnesses, we could take that to a vote. The president is on Twitter today talking about the election, though many of his tweets are being labeled by Twitter as disputed and possibly misleading. President Trump is claiming that there is fraud and secret ballots affecting the election without any evidence. In Washington, Nguyen, Spectrum News.